Well, good afternoon. Good morning to you. Welcome to the broadcast. Hope you are having a great day wherever you are located. We will start in just a few minutes, a couple of minutes here, but I thought I would just make sure that I'm broadcasting loud and clear. And you have the ability to type in the chat box and let me know if you can hear me. In fact, I'd love to know where you are watching and listening from and perhaps how the weather is. It just started raining here in southeast Missouri, and it's raining pretty hard outside. So, but other than that, it's been just some gorgeous weather. It's been beautiful. So I'll go out and take a look and see where some of our folks are at. And looks like we have Susan's in Philly, loud and clear. Jose is in, looks like he's in sunny Clearwater, Florida. It's a beautiful area, Jose. Gerald is in Minnesota. It's clear there. Great. Kevin, Colorado Springs, loud and clear. Thank you for joining, Kevin. Little rainy there. My sister and brother-in-law were living in Colorado Springs and just moved, but they absolutely loved it there. Steve says it's perfect in Kansas City. Steve, I'm on the other side of the state, but welcome. He's from Missouri. I'm not certain how the Royals are doing this year. The Cardinals could do a little bit better, but we'll hope for better sports. Correct, Steve. Erica's in Henderson, out in the toward the west. Good. Santa Maria. Patty, welcome. And Nathan says he is in Kingston, North Carolina, and it is hot with an exclamation point. And gosh, I don't even want to try to pronounce your name. It is really a cool looking name, but you are in Orlando, hot and windy. And really, it's a beautiful name, first name, but I know I would not pronounce it correctly. But welcome from Orlando. It looks like it is right at 1 o'clock. And so thanks everyone for telling me, welcoming me. And hello, Amy. I see my good friend Amy down in Louisiana. How are you doing? Good to hear you. So, all right. Well, we are going to get started. We have literally around 1,400 people that registered for the broadcast. If you have questions, you can ask your questions, type those in. My good friend Joe with RPR is going to be watching the chat box, and she'll be answering any questions you might have. Naturally, with that many folks on the webinar, it would be almost impossible for me to stop and take questions, but I will give you my contact information. It is on the screen. You are more than welcome to write me or call me. I'll show you my phone number in a little bit. If you have any questions whatsoever, I'll be glad to help you with that. It's thundering and lightning now here. If for some reason we go off the air, don't panic. Joe is backing me up, and sometimes technology does some crazy things. So if we happen to go off the air, I'll come right back on, and don't worry about that. So we'll get started. My name is John Mayfield. I am a real estate broker from Southeast Missouri. I received my real estate license at the age of 18 in 1978. So you can do the math and figure out that, yes, I recently turned 56 years old. But I love technology, and I'm in the trenches like you. I've owned 3 offices, managed a number of real estate agents, kind of actually went from a salesperson to a sales manager to a selling broker to just a managing broker, and sold my company a few years ago. And I won't bore you with that big long story, except to say I'm back in the trenches, and I'm a selling broker again. I run a virtual real estate office, but I love real estate. It's all I've ever done. And this tool that I'm going to show you today is really one of the coolest tools I think we've had for real estate professionals in my lifetime. So I am a big RPR fan. I love to teach the courses, and I do some help with the Help Center and the knowledge base articles. And I think you're going to find this course over the next hour just to be really a tremendous asset for your real estate profession. So we're going to cover some of the basics of RPR, But gosh, I would just be bored out of my gourd if all I could show you were some basic things. So I'm going to push the envelope a little bit and show you some really cool things that I'm doing with RPR. And just, I want you to think outside the box because this tool has some just mind boggling things you can do for generating more business in your real estate career. So we're going to look at a lot of the basic things with RPR, but I'm going to show you some really cool things that you can use RPR for as well. And I do want you to reach out to me if you have any questions and need help. Normally, I'll get 50 to 60 people that will send me emails and say, hey, could I watch that again, or could you help me with this? And I'm here to help you. I want you to know that. And there is no charge whatsoever unless you start calling me every day, and then I might have to charge you. But I am recording this as well, and I'll put it on my website so you can watch that. So what is RPR? I mean, I hear a lot of folks give me their explanation or their description or assumption of RPR. What is RPR? Well, RPR is this wholly owned subsidiary corporation that's a part of the National Association of Realtors. It's a national database that's parcel centric and has over 166 million properties. Now, every time I mention that bullet point, I happen to end up back in my college algebra class. I crammed 4 years of college into 5. That normally gets a good laugh in a live classroom. But I crammed 4 years of college into 5. I took my college algebra the last semester, senior semester, and unfortunately, we didn't have YouTube and all the various aids you could have for helping you study and learn things as students have today. But I just didn't get college algebra. And the teacher would say, did everybody understand that? And everybody would nod their head. Oh, yeah, we got that. And I had no idea what the teacher was talking about. So when I read this statement to you and I say, oh, it's a national database, parcel centric property information over 166 million US properties, what does that really mean? And let me show you or explain to you what this means. I'm listing a house this week. Actually, I already signed the papers. We're doing some cleanup and paint on it for the folks. I knew these people since I was a little bitty boy. It's around the corner from where I grew up. In fact, their boy, one of their boys, is the same age as me. He was born on May 20th, 1960. And Bill and I went to school together. In fact, Bill and I shared a lot of our same birthday parties together. And every other year we would kind of go back and forth and we would have our birthday party at his house and the next year at my house. So I'm listing this house where literally I had many of my birthday parties with Bill just right around the corner from where I grew up. Bill's mom and dad built that home. Bill's mom and dad never, ever put that home up for sale. Bill's mother lived there until recently when she relocated to Texas to be close to her children. So that home has never, ever been in the MLS. If I went to the MLS and tried to pull up that property, nothing would be there. But I can go into RPR, type in the address of that property, even maybe add the owner's last name to help refine the search. RPR will find that property, pull it up, give me all of the information, and even suggest what the property should be listed for. That's what we mean by this database of over 166 million properties. There are properties in the RPR database that have never, ever been in your MLS, but yet RPR has quick access to them and gives you lots of really cool, cutting edge information that will just blow you away. And best of all, as you can see, there is no charge for you and I to use this, and it's exclusively for Realtor members. The public has no access to this information. Now, it's not an MLS. People think that RPR is trying to create this national MLS. That is not the case because we get our information from the MLS. So RPR could not function if it did not have an MLS. So it's not an MLS. It's not any kind of a consumer facing business model. So consumers don't have access to go and look at this. This is strictly for us. We're not re-syndicating or redistributing information. It's only available for the National Association of Realtors. Now, how do I use RPR? I use it as a research tool. In fact, I'm going to show you briefly the mobile app. And if you haven't downloaded the mobile app, I'm telling you what, you as a real estate professional, that has got to be one of the apps you put on your phone. You will use it as much or more than you will instant messaging and email on your mobile phone. Guaranteed. It's just mind-boggling. So it's a research tool. It helps you accurately price a property. Now, when I told you that I went and looked up my friend Bill's mother's property, and I found all the information, everything I needed to list that property, and RPR even said, hey, John, here's what we think the price probably should be listed for. I don't take that price and say, well, that's the list price. No, it's a computer that's giving me the valuation, or it's a computer that's predicting the price based on lots of information. We call that an algorithm, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. I get to use my experience and my knowledge of the marketplace to help accurately narrow in on what the price should be listed for. But I want to tell you, RPR does a pretty good job of getting right into the ballpark. I find 85 to 90% of the time, the RVM, Realtor's Valuation Model, which I'm going to talk about on the next slide, is right in the ballpark with my gut feeling. So it's a research tool. It helps you accurately price a property. I'm going to show you how you can farm and prospect with RPR that will just, I don't want to oversell, but I think it'll blow you away what you can do with farming and prospecting with RPR. At least I've been using it as a farming and a prospecting tool, and it works very good for me. It also helps you impress buyers and sellers. Now, what do I mean by that? I'm driving to Columbia, Missouri a couple of years ago, going to teach an RPR course. I'm listening to this MP3 of a motivational speaker, and he makes a statement on this audio recording that just kind of had one of those wow moments. So as he's being interviewed, this successful online marketer, his name's Joe Polish, you can go look him up. Joe said to the gentleman that was interviewing him, he goes, or made this statement, he said, you know, there's really only one difference between a dollar bill and $100 bill. And I thought about that for a moment, and I thought, boy, that's interesting. There's only one difference between a dollar bill and $100 bill. And Joe Polish said, it's the message. One of them gives you a dollar bill message. One of them gives you a $100 bill message. Now, if you get nothing else out of this session this afternoon, I want you to think about that as a real estate professional. Are you delivering a dollar bill message, or are you delivering a $100 bill message? I'm here to tell you RPR will help you impress buyers and sellers with your reports, and you will stand out at a listing presentation, a buyer's tour, or an open house. It's one of the best reports I've seen, and I'm a tech guy. I teach technology all over the world. That's what I get paid to do outside of listing and selling real estate. And if I don't like a tech tool, I don't use it or promote it, but I'm here to tell you this report rocks. So how can you use RPR? You can use it a lot of different ways as a real estate professional. Now we have one more slide and we're going to get right in and I'm going to start showing you how to use RPR. Two slides, but one, I'll be brief on these. But it's important for you to understand what we're doing and what RPR is all about. We have this thing called an AVM and we have an RVM. They're both automated valuation models. That's what they're called. AVMs have been around for a long, long time. You probably have had the same scenario that I've been faced with many times. You show up at a house, you go to show a house, you get out of the car, and one of the questions the buyers always ask is, how come this house is only worth X number of dollars on another website? In fact, I went to that website the other day just to look up some of my listings, and none of the estimates that they were providing were even remotely close to what my list price was. And those are called automated valuation models. Now, in Missouri, we are a non-disclosure state, which means we do not report sales information to the courthouse. And in many states like Missouri, because those automated valuation models do not have access to sold data, they're not very accurate. In fact, a lot of times they're downright lousy. The unfortunate thing is they're plastered out there on the internet, and a lot of people think that they're reality, or they believe that, well, I saw it on the internet, so it must be true. And AVMs continue to become bigger and more popular and more in demand, and banks and county assessors and all of these people want and need access to automated valuation models. They want to know what is or what would this portfolio of real estate be worth on today's market. And so these companies develop these algorithms that are not very accurate because they don't have good data, and they wave their hand or put their website up on the internet and they say, we can give you an automated valuation model, and people pay for it. And so it's become a very big business, but it's not a real good tool. Here enters RPR. The National Association of Realtors basically said, you know what? If people want automated valuation models and it's not a very good product, we think we can do a better job. And so we created our own algorithm. We labeled it the Realtor's Valuation Model. You can see it right there. But what's different about our algorithm or our automated valuation, which is a Realtor's Valuation Model, versus the competition? We have access to the MLS, don't we? We have MLS active, we have sold data, we have off-market data, and with all of this data, it becomes the highest accurate type of automated valuation product that's available. So that's why we have RPR. That's why it's here, and it's not going to go away. And the really cool thing is it's just going to become more accurate over time as the computer models begin to learn what's happening in our marketplace and learns more about what's going on with sold data and everything else. So it's a very interesting tool. And we're going to jump right in now and just get started and take a look at that. Now, remember, if you have any questions, you can always type that into Jo, and she'll be glad to answer those questions. So I'm going to bring over my web browser here, and I'm going to show you, we're on the main page here. This is when you would go to RPR, and actually the website is NAR for National Association of Realtors, RPR.com, NARRPR.com. Many MLSs, like my MLS in St. Louis, have a link to RPR right on our MLS dashboard. Some MLSs have what's called deep linking within your MLS. So there could be many different ways that you can access RPR. But if you go to NARRPR.com, you'll come to the website. Now let's take let's take a look here at a couple of things. Notice that right here, we're on the main page. We can do a lot of different things right in here. In fact, notice I have a menu that says all properties. I have a menu that says for sale. I can search neighborhoods. I can even look up school data, which is pretty cool. And I can look up market activity that I'll show you about. And I can even look up my listings right here. So we've got a lot of stuff that's going on right here on the main page. I want to also show you right up here, there's a little gear icon. This is where you would set up your profile. So if you needed to go and you wanted to add your picture, and I'll just kind of jump into that, and we'll go right into the gear icon. This is where you could set up your MLS, put your MLS ID in. You could add your company logo and some more information as well there. Make sure this is all completed correctly, because you want your reports to generate and look very nice and have all of the correct information. So that's, again, is located right up there where the gear icon is, right here. Now, I'll be honest with you, there are some buttons up here that we can go and look at, some reports that are generated. We can also access the commercial icon. I'll show you that in a little bit. For brokers, we have data tools. But most of my work, I'm right down here in this area, right there. Okay, you also have the help button. But again, there are some other items. There are some other items here, and hopefully I'm still on. I noticed the power went out for just a second there, but I believe, and I'm hoping I'm still on. Joe, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah, we're having a pretty wild lightning and thunderstorm here, so the power went out, but I'm on a backup generator, so I should be fine. So so I wanted to point that out. Now, for brokers, I do want to point out one other item here. Notice I have my logo right here. Let me get back to my little pin here. You'll notice that, well, for some reason, try the highlighter and see if, there we go. Right up here's my logo. And I just want you to know that's free of charge. So if you're seeing up in this area your MLS, or perhaps you are not seeing your company logo, that is free through RPR, and I'll show you how to set that up toward the end. So just want to point that out. My logo's up there. Your company logo could be up there as well. Okay, so we're going to get started here now, and I want to just show you one thing here. Notice all properties. I want you to think in terms, when you're searching all properties, that you're searching the county courthouse. Remember when I said Bill, my friend's mother, that I listed this week, that property? When I went to pull that property up, I wanted to make sure that my All Properties tab was selected. Then all I needed to do was type in the street address right here, and I was able to go in and find that information. So right here, you can type in the street address if you want to do that. In fact, I'm going to just type in 212, and I want to show you something. 45. If there are any properties out here that are actively listed that begin with 21245, they will auto-populate. So you'll notice that as I'm looking for properties, if I type in 7643 you will notice that there's a property in Scottsdale, Arizona that's 7643. That's an active listing, and I can just pull that up right there. Now, I can also, right in here, I'm going to go back to all properties. Notice the zip code there is 852667. So if I want to search by zip code, I can type in 8526, and you will see that it's automatically populating to that street address, so, or that zip code. So I can search by street, I can search by city, and it will always auto-populate. I can search by county. Lots of really interesting ways to search. And sometimes I've actually had this in a class where people were saying, you know, I tried to go out and I tried to find my property and it wouldn't pull my property up if they're in a rural area. What we would type in is their street address. And over here under the Advanced tab, now this is only on all properties, under the Advanced tab, I can come down here and type in the last name of the person. So if I typed in if I typed in Westwood and I have Mayfield, I could then do a search, you know, Farmington, Missouri, I could do a search and it would bring that property up. So I just wanted to point that out, that sometimes for those of us who are in rural areas, if you have difficulty pulling up a property by the street address and you know that person lives on that street, type in their street address, go to the Advanced tab, which is right here on the out to the right, and put their last name in. And generally that will pull up the property for me. You have lots of ways that you can search: address, zip code, county, city, lots of different areas. And again, when you're searching all properties, I want you to think in terms of searching the county courthouse. Now, if you're searching for sale, it's kind of like you're mirroring the MLS. So let me show you how this works here. Let's just type in Scottsdale. And I'm going to go to, I'm a creative speller. Is that ES? We'll go back to Phoenix. And here we go, Phoenix, Arizona. I'm going to do the 85001. And I'm searching for sale. And I'm going to hit search. And I want you to look at the number over here on the left where my mouse is. Then we'll go back to the home screen. This is like Geraldo Rivera when he opened the vault. Sometimes you go and you search and nothing's there, right? We'll try Phoenix, Arizona. I may have been that zip code, but perhaps that zip code is, we should have some properties here. For those not old enough to remember, Geraldo Rivera had a 2-hour special one time that was, we were going to open up this vault that had Jimmy Hoffa's tomb in it, and we watched for like 2 hours, and at the end of 2 hours, they finally blew open the door and there was nothing there. That's what technology sometimes happens. Now, notice here, 8,042 properties. Remember, I was searching, so there's 8,042 properties. By the way, notice I can search these by, I can arrange those, but I searched the 8,000, I searched those under for sale. Now let's go to all properties and let's search Phoenix, Arizona. And we should get a number that is much larger than 8,042. Why? Because we're searching the county courthouse, and it's looking at all of the parcels of properties that are placed into RPR through the courthouse system. That's why we're searching all properties. So this number is going to be pretty large. Remember, there's over 166 million properties. Now, I tell you this because sometimes I'll have people that will call me after the session or write or send me an email, and they'll say, John, I tried to go in and I've got this listing appointment. I tried to pull it up and the property won't pull up. And they're so discouraged and they're so upset. And I'll always ask them, is the property on the market right now? And they'll say no. And I'll say, did you search under for sale or all properties? And they always say, oh, I see what I did wrong. I was searching under for sale. So when they click the all properties tab, run the street address, it pops right up. And you can see here under all properties, Phoenix, Arizona, we have 415,393 properties. Now, I'm here to tell you that I can find properties in RPR faster than I can my MLS. In fact, it's been days since I've logged into my MLS. The only time I really log into my MLS is to put a new listing in and to update information from that respect. But most of my work I'm doing through RPR just because I like it. I like the information I get and how easily and quickly I can go and find information. In fact, notice here on the left-hand side, if I said, I really only want to look at the distressed properties in Phoenix, Arizona, I can quickly uncheck the non-distressed. And now I'm telling RPR, just give me everything that's a pre-foreclosure or a bank-owned property that's out there. Now I'm under all properties, so there may be some properties that have already transferred or sold, but I wanted you to see how easy it is to change price, bedrooms, all kinds of information just from that one checkbox. Now, keep in mind, we're searching everything in Phoenix, Arizona, so it's going to take a little longer than it may take for a normal MLS if you were searching for sale. But 3,500 pre-foreclosures or foreclosed properties under all properties. So you'll really like the fact as you get in to search for properties that are in your MLS, or if you're going on a listing appointment that's not listed, you can go right in and search through all properties. So I did a search just a little earlier on Phoenix, Arizona, came up with a list here. I wanted you to see this because over here on the right-hand side, one of the things I like about RPR is that everything is color coordinated. And so gray represents off-market, blue's for sale, red is distressed, green is recently sold, a darker gray is recently expired, dark blue's pending, and a wine or a dark deep red is pending distressed. So as we scroll through, you'll see these color coordinated flags. And as you become familiar with RPR, you'll know that green represents sold and red is for sale. Now, it makes a little more sense if I select the bigger map and I can start to see these right within the subdivision or the neighborhood. Now, I jumped over here and I pulled up a property for us on, I'm going to go right back over here to 2322 North 10th Street in Phoenix, Arizona. And so I pulled this property up. I wanted us to take a look at a couple of things. First of all, here's the list price. This is a property that's for sale, $205,000. And look at the current RVM, 184 to 200,000. Now let's go back. Remember what the RVM is. It's the realtor's valuation model, and it's giving you a price based on data that it's collected and it's put through an algorithm or a computer. So that $184,200 price that you see for an RVM, you have to remind yourself at all times, and when I'm showing this to sellers and buyers, that is a computer model. The computer doesn't know if they've had 6 dogs and 7 cats in the house, or the computer doesn't know the surroundings. The computer is just saying, based on this location, this square footage, other homes in the area, this, within what has sold within the last period of days, we think this house is worth $184,200. You will find out that we're going to get to go in and add our experience and knowledge to this. Now, one other thing I can see here is that it's a 4-star confidence scale. So RPR is basically saying, we're not real confident about $184,200 because the data we have may not be there. In fact, if you want to look at the data that RVM that they used for the RVM, you can select View Details right below that, and I can look at all the comparables right here that they chose. Now, you will find we're going to get to pick our own comps in just a little bit, but if I want to look at the details of the RVM, I can do that at any time. Something else that's interesting about this, the RVM is updated monthly, and you will see down below here that the RVM's gone up over the last month, $920, and it's remained the same over the last 12 months. That's important for you to know because properties are being updated continuously based on what's going on in the marketplace and what our RPR is looking at and analyzing and predicting. This is a great prospecting tool right there. Because now, if you sell this house at 2322 North 10th Street in Phoenix, Arizona, and you closed on it today and you get your commission check today, here's the next thing you need to do. You need to get your smartphone out or your calendar on your computer. You need to go 12 months out and you need to follow up with your new buyers that you would be happy to give them an updated valuation on what their property is currently worth using RPR. People want to know what their stocks are worth or do every so often. Why shouldn't we be doing this for sellers and buyers with their properties they have for sale or have purchased, bought, and sold through us? So you have that ability to do that, and you need to understand that RPR is updating these every month. Now let's go over here to the bigger map in this neighborhood and look at the ability here to see what's going on in the neighborhood. In fact, if I want to see a Google view, I can do that, and I can look at other properties that have sold in the neighborhood, other properties that are under contract. I can look at the next door neighbor's house and see what RPR is calculating it for. I can look at other sold data. I mean, all of this information is right here within RPR. Here's your subject property. This is where we're going with data. You'll be able to go out on a listing appointment and you'll be able to pull up their house and literally know everything that's going on. We have that right now. Everything that's going on in the neighborhood. And if they say, well, our friends down the street sold their house for $215,000, you actually can pull it up and say, here it is right here. It's sold for $181,000. That's all right here within the map area. And I came to that by selecting bigger map. Now I can also do some really cool things with these heat maps. So if I want to look at what's going on in the marketplace over the last 12 months, I can change and add a heat map. Here's my subject property, and I'm actually able to see in this marketplace that property values are going up, and they have been going up. I had a listing not too long ago, and you probably don't have sellers like this where you're at. Maybe you do. Do you ever have a seller that you go out and you tell them what their house is worth and they get real upset with you? Oh, okay. You have those as well. I had a lady who got a little bit upset with me because I told her the value of her house and it went the wrong way. It went down. It was like planes, trains, and automobiles when the people kept hollering at them, you're going the wrong way. Her house was right here, and this was a huge, big red cell, deep, dark red cell. It looked like a storm was passing over it if you were a weather forecaster. And dark red right down here means property values are going down over the last 12 months. So you've got tons of information. You can look up flood zones. This is not in a flood zone, but I can see flood zones over there. And I know somebody's out there saying right now, well, John, where did they get that data? Where's it from? Everything is footnoted in RPR. So notice if I select the About button, it tells me they get the map from FEMA. If I go up here and I want to know a concentration of distressed properties, I can look at that and I can select the About button and it will tell me where they got the data from the MLS and from RPR and some other sources. So I've got lots of heat overlays that will help me. If I want to do average sales price, I can do that. I'll be very honest with you. The one that tends to work for me in most of my listing presentations is the 12-month change in value. I really want to know what's going on in my marketplace over the last 12 months. But you'll have these heat overlays you can use, and one of those might be able to help you deliver the message you need to deliver. When I go up against competitors in my marketplace and I'm able to win a new listing or be able to present an 85-page CMA, and trust me, I do not print out the 85 pages. I go over it with my iPad Pro or your laptop, and after you go over it with them, you pull your smartphone out because the app's in sync with your RPR account, and I email them a copy right from my smartphone, a link. And if they want to download the 85 pages, they can. I don't go through all 85 pages, but I go through the high points and what I need to do to win the business. And I hear my clients who were customers, but who've signed the listing agreement with me at the kitchen table say over and over again, man, you put a lot of work into that report you did for us. I'm just using RPR. My competitors are printing out 2 and 3 pages from the MLS. And if you go back to what I asked you earlier, what's the difference between a dollar bill and $100 bill? It's the message. So you're going to have to deliver. This report lets you deliver a good message. By the way, I'm going to go back here and I'm going to just change this to none. I want you to see there's tons of things you can do here. If I want to search by school districts or zip codes, I can refine that. If I need to search by distance, I can go put a place on the map and I can find out, 5 miles or 10 miles, and I can search for properties within 10 miles. If I need to do drive time, I can go out here to drive time, and literally I can select if they're driving by car or walking, the time of day and the day of week. This is a brand new feature. Hit the apply button, and on Mondays at 8 a.m., it will literally take the information from Maponics and it will put a display for the drive time. So you can do that by day, by time of day, by driving or walking. And here's the one feature that I really like a lot. I'm going to drill in a little bit closer. And I want to use the polygon. And we're going to draw a map around this subdivision right here. Now, this is Whispering Pines Meadows. We'll call it Bogey Estates. Why don't we call that? So I've drew a map around that subdivision, and I'm going to select Save. I'm going to call this Bogey Creek Subdivision. And I'll select OK. Now I can go on and search Bogey Creek, but here's what I've done. If we go back to the home screen and we go to the Saved button right here, and I scroll down here, look, there's Bogey Creek Subdivision. I just saved that. It's going to pull up all the results for Bogey Creek Subdivision, 76 properties. What I want you to think about doing next is selecting Reports, and we're already on Market Activity Report. I want you to go back 1 month, and I want you to, these will all be checked, and I want you to uncheck open houses and expired listings. And I want you to run the report. Now, I can go on and work while that report is generating. In fact, this is pretty cool. Today's June 1st, right? So we've got somebody on the call who says, John, I want to begin to farm Bogey Creek subdivision. I want to own that subdivision. I want people, if they're thinking about buying or selling, to think of me and nobody else. So what we're going to do is create a web page on our website called Mayfield RE / Bogey Creek. We're now going to send out postcards to everyone in the subdivision telling them that if they go to www.mayfieldre / Bogey Creek, they'll be able to find out the latest information for their subdivision on what's going on in the real estate market. And in fact, you can get as creative as you want. We're going to now embed that report on our website. What I would do is encourage you to create some type of mechanism, and there's lots of ways to do that, so that in order for them to download the report, they have to give you their name and email address. That way you can send them the report, email it to them every month. But it doesn't matter. We could do postcards and spend 60 or 70 bucks. We're driving them to our website. We're driving them to this special page that's specifically for their subdivision. You can then even do a green screen and be like the weather forecaster and have the report behind you and point out specific things on the report. Or you could just do a short video welcoming them to your website and that they can download the latest report. And if they're thinking about buying or selling, you'd love to help them. And once this report is generated, we'll be able to click on this report and download that. So we'll come back to that in just a little bit. But that's one of the really cool things we can do through using this market activity. And again, I drew that map through the map area. So going back to 2322 North Street, 10th Street again, we were on the summary page there, and literally we didn't even get down here below. I have all the listing agent information. I have all of the historical records. If I need to go in and I want to look at this house back in 2005, I can now look at what this house sold for back in 2005 and all of the information. Sometimes I find photos that are there, but going back that far, they're normally purged. RPR is not going to purge any photos from this point forward, but I can look at all the data right there. If I want to come up here and say, well, that house was also on the market back in February, I can pull that up and see the same exact information. Notice the historical RVM's 143, the current RVM's 142. So I love that feature right here. It's on the right. Compare historical data. I have information about what's going on in Phoenix. I have the public records versus the MLS records. If I need to make changes, I can do that. I can add notes into the system. And I love this little map here. It has helped me explain information to my customers and clients. And normally what I do, it's the median estimated home value. I uncheck the county and I uncheck the state, because what I'm trying to do is compare my property to the zip code. And you can see if you were working with a buyer, they should feel pretty confident that they're not buying at the high end of the market. If you have a seller, they should feel pretty good that they're right in line with the median estimated home value. So you can do some really creative, cool things with the map there. I have price change history. I have distressed information. This property at one time was a distressed property. I can go on down and look at more information, school information, legal. In Arizona, you can even download the plats, tax information, and so much more. So schools are over here, just lots of data and information, and that is just the first page. Now, if we jump over to the history tab, we get more information. This, in my MLS, to go find prior MLS transactions, it's just, you just pull your hair out because you have to put greater than and equal. It's a nightmare. I haven't figured out a way to do it any easier. I just look properties up in RPR. I go to the history tab, scroll down, check the MLS records, and all of the MLS records are right here. If this property had sold 4 times, it would all be right here. Tax assessment. I can go back and look at the tax assessment back in 2011, 2010, 2009, 8. So all of this data is right there. If mortgage information was available, I'd have that, and I see that a lot. All of this information, again, is right here. I can also compare the historical data, and I can go over to charts, and I can discuss and show charts until my heart's what's the word I'm looking for. You could show all the charts and graphs you want. Do I go through all of those? No, I don't want to bore somebody with 9 million charts and graphs, but there might be one chart that helps me deliver the right message to get the property priced where it needs to be priced. So that's on charts. And now we're going to come to refined value. This is a really cool spot because I can now come down here and I can begin to have a conversation with the customer. And if they've added something like a bathroom last April in 2015 and they updated their bathroom and spent $20,000, I can add that. It's an upscale bathroom. And look what happened. It gave them $10,686 for their bathroom. Things we need to be having, conversations we need to be having with our customers. I hired a guy to do some work for me recently, some tech work on my website. I'm a technology speaker, but I'm not a geek, and I know enough about programming to be dangerous. So I hire that kind of stuff out. I want to get somebody who knows what they're doing. And so I went to a website called Upwork. It's a pretty cool website. I've been hiring some virtual assistants to do work there. And I put my job that I needed done out, and I probably had 15 people who responded and all said they wanted to do work and could do it for that price. But I had one person who asked me a lot of questions about my goals and my, this and that. They were asking questions, and it was interesting to me. And I hired that person, and it dawned on me, am I taking that same kind of interest in my clients and customers? I'm just trying to open your mind to the fact that when you go out on a listing appointment, sellers may want you to ask them, what have you done to your house? What are some new things you've added over the last couple of years? And now you have this really awesome tool that you can go out, find their repairs, add the date, add the price, and you can give them value for the property. My sellers love it when I do that. So remember, the RVM is just a computer. We are now taking your knowledge and your experience and you on the ground, looking at the property, talking to the seller, and putting that to help refine the RVM so that it's a very good price. And here's where you can add. If the market's very good, you can move that over. If your market's slow, you can move it this way. You can, if the condition of the outside of the home needs some work, you can move that down. If the interior needs some work, you can move that down. And look what's happening. Everything's being adjusted. See that? It's taking value away. So if the view is not great or the lot size is not great, so we're making changes now and RPR is doing all the calculations for us. And that is all on this refined value. Now we're going to move over to comp analysis, and just like we would in the MLS, we're going to confirm the facts. 9 times out of 10, that'll just stay the same. We're going to find comps, and I would encourage you just to leave this all alone because the computer is basing the scenario similar to what an appraiser has to look for. And so just leave this alone and select search. Now, if you need to come back, if you're in a rural area and you need to go out further in months, or you need to enlarge the search area, you can always do that. Or if you want to draw a box around a subdivision, you can do that. But I would encourage you to leave that alone and select search. By the way, there's a keyword. If it's lakefront or waterfront, you can type that in and you would only pull up comps that had those areas. So something I changed there. I think I hit something. We'll search. I must have hit something by accident. I didn't when I was moving this around. So let's zoom out and we'll modify the search and we'll try this again. Because normally in Phoenix, Arizona, I always get tons of comps. So I must have clicked a button by accident, but maybe not. There's only 5 here. So I'm going to add these comps right here. I mean, it must be in a specific area of Phoenix. So notice I'm adding all of these comps and I'll update the valuation and close. And of course, it's giving me a real wild number because if I go back here to edit these comps, I'm going to edit the comps. Some of these comps were really low in price. So like that's 53,000. I would probably remove that and remove some of these others. I think somehow I got moved around on but we'll update the valuation and close. And again, this number is going to be totally off. So we can put our own numbers in here if we want to. And of course, I don't know anything about this market. So sometimes I have to go in and draw maps in certain areas, and I do that. But now I can adjust my comps, and here I can rate this if this comp's worse or better. And I can come down here and I can add notes to the comp, which I find very useful because on my iPad, I'll highlight those and circle those for the client. I can put these in the order. So if this is the best comp and I want to put that there, I can rearrange my comps and I'll update the valuation and close and I'll print the report. And again, if I want to uncheck any pages, I can, but I'm here to tell you I would just run the report, go over it on your computer, and then email them a link, and they'll be very impressed, trust me. So let's go back to this one report we had a minute ago, the Bogey Creek subdivision. And I want to show you what that looks like because it's a really nice report. It's for this subdivision. And now I'm able to drive people to my website and they can download this report. They can see what's for sale in their neighborhood. They can see what's sold and lots of other information. Really a cool report. Now, one of the things that I've done on my website is I've taken these reports and I've actually put them into a little program called Flip Builder. We're just about done as well, too. So we're just about covered everything. I have a couple more items, but here is Flip Builder. And now I've created a digital magazine. So this is a neighborhood report. I can share this via email. I can put this on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter and drive people to my website. But I actually have all of my communities right here. I also went and created a little subdivision. I'm in the process of building this, but here is Log Cabin Lane. I have a drive-through where I used my GoPro camera and my bicycle. They can download the latest market activity report. They can sign up to get this report right here on my website. Those are just some really cool things that you can do using the reports with RPR and making, if you wanted to farm an area to really become the expert in that farm. People want to know what's going on with real estate values in their area. And now you have this really awesome tool that you can do that. Notice there are some areas throughout RPR where you can find out more about the neighborhood. So here is the neighborhood section. And look, I can get housing, people, economy, tons of data. All of these make great tools to share on your Facebook page if you wanted to share that. I can jump over here and look at the housing. I can look at people facts. I can look at the economy. And again, tons of information. I can even go right over here and look at how many days of sunshine and how many days of snow, the annual rainfall. And again, I took all of that and I put that right into my communities using a digital flip book to where people could look at that right from their computer. So that is part of the neighborhood report, and you can access that by going to the home button, selecting neighborhoods, and then type in a neighborhood. In fact, we can find, I'm going to type in Kingston Mines, Illinois, and search. I can get a neighborhood report for any community in the United States. Remember, I'm a part of the National Association of Realtors. RPR is for us. So if you have someone who's being relocated to Orlando, Florida, I can go into Orlando, Florida, and now if they're going to the 806 zip code, I can get them a neighborhood report specifically for that zip code. These are great reports to have at an open house. They're great reports that you should share with human resource managers in your marketplace. That you could share these with the Chamber of Commerce, have those downloaded to your phone or put them on your website. There's really some good information there. We can do the same thing with school activity. I basically showed you market activity through a subdivision, but you can do that for a city or a zip code, and you can pull up that information as well. Now, keep in mind that there is right up here where I selected residential. If you select commercial, you actually have access to lots of commercial tools. We don't talk about that on this webinar, but I will tell you there are some great reports that you could share with your Chamber of Commerce, again, with human resource managers. When I talk about the ability to network and to prospect and to use RPR to really stretch the boundaries, there are some just mind-boggling things you can do. I wish I could share with you more tools and tips I have. But to wrap up, you've got all of your recent searches, properties, and reports are right here. They will mirror your smartphone. So when you download this app, they're all going to be accessible on your mobile phone. You can take notes on your phone and much more. Now, if you ever need help from our friends at the help desk, they are there 24/7, 365 days a year. They're the nicest, sweetest people you would ever talk to. They are located in Omaha, Nebraska. You can also live chat with them, so that's right down there. You can report a bug if you see something goofy going on, because RPR is somewhat new in a lot of respects for many areas. And so you might have some issues that need to be corrected or fixed. It's no big deal. If you select the blog button, which is what I did at the very bottom, I hit blog. you come out to the blog area, and here you can, if you're a broker, you can select broker owners and you can sign up right here to have your logo as I had mine. So brokers, you would just go to industry segments, hit brokers. If you're an agent, you can select agents, find out more information at that website. Uh, Other training, other resources, it's all right there. Well, we covered a lot of ground, and it is just, to me, it's one of the coolest tools is out there right now for us. It's free. There's no charge. There is like a lot of data that is there for you to use, and it will help you grow your business. Now, I want to show you, if you go to businesstechguy.com, businesstechguy.com, my email and phone number is located on this website. But if you come over here to resources, you'll notice that I put an RPR tab right there, and I will have this webinar uploaded within the hour, and you can see some of my past webinars there as well. So the last couple of months. So I'll put this webinar right here. Please feel free to go out, watch it if you have any other questions. And if you need to contact me or call me, it's no problem. You can do that as well. I'd be glad to help you in any way. So I hope this was helpful for you. It's a great tool. It's helping me win business. I hope it helps you win business. And I appreciate you so much watching today's webinar. I want you to have a great day. And more importantly, I want you to go out and list and sell something today. Okay. So thanks for watching, and I look forward to talking to you in the near future.